And now, from Grid Square Echo Mike 48, this is 100 Watts and a Wire.
Whoa. Whoa, Nelly, I haven't moved that fast in a long time, y'all. Holy moly. It is amateur radio amplified, and that was a steamer. That's what they call a steamer right there. Well, I guess, I don't know, maybe that sounds old-fashioned now. That must be like, I don't know, somebody's kicking it. I don't know, too much? You guys let us know. Was the rock and roll, the heavy metal, a little too much there for the intro? Steve and I needed it. Just a little extra kick in the pants, and now I'm breathing heavy for the 1%, the 0.01%. It's Christian. Hello. My call sign is Kilo Zero Sierra Tango Hotel, joined by Sidecar Steve, W7 UDI, and you probably did not notice, but the third wheel on our tricycle is not here today. You're saying to yourself, what is this, contract negotiations? I guess so. I don't know. We'll find out what he wants now. I don't know what this boy could want.
Probably for those golden locks.
Yeah, you just gotta, him and his hair. It is enough. I'm like, can we make a smaller, scene where he's just like a little circle in the bottom corner? And it's like the Scotty's got his little headset on and he's working feverishly behind the scenes. So tonight we are auditioning for the role of Scotty. So if you're interested in that, let us know. We'll bring you on for an audition. But 100 Watts and a Wire is for folks who are, if you're experienced, you're not an experienced ham radio operator just getting started out, whatever you are. It was created to mentor and entertain, try to help answer your questions, anything you may be struggling with. And this podcast has built a community, which is really cool. It shows what podcasting can do when you get together. And on Sunday nights, 7 o'clock Central, after the live show, we get on the air. So you can join the 100 Watts and a Wire Sunday evening net, 7 o'clock Central, after our live show. You're listening to episode number 402. 402, Steve. We've managed to fool them 401 times. I don't know how far we can get away with this, but hey, we'll keep trying. If you have a question and you're here tonight joining us, put a Q in front of it, or you can join us in the Zoom room if you like, and we could take your calls from there as well. So, when I don't know how we want to audition for Scotty. I think it's just a mouthful of gummy bears and jelly beans or what have you, but we'll find out. Some people might think he's not replaceable, but we're all just playing parts here. The role of Scotty is filled by a guy named Jimmy Hi-Hi in Ellicott City. His name's not Scotty at all, guys. Come on. What's going on with you, Steve? I hear you got some really beautiful weather and warm weather right away, right out of the box, just like that.
Oh, yeah. Just boom. Within a couple of days, we were into the 80s. So yesterday was a warm one, and getting out doing yard work and mowing and tending to the outside. So it was a nice weekend so far. Today a little bit cooler, but other than that, it's been a great spring day. Finally, I think spring has sprung here in the Northwest. It's been long and coming.
Oh, stand by. Something's coming in.
100 Watts and a Wire News.
Mark is telling us that Scotty is looking for Lamar Jackson money. Lamar Jackson money. We will follow this story as it goes. I mean, this show is doing quite well, but we are not doing Baltimore Ravens well. We'll see what he wants. It's probably a dressing room accommodation. I think he wants his own small trailer.
I
and
think
some
he
other
wants
little
a
things.
suite down there at the Browns, but I'm not sure.
Well, how's that negotiation going? There is a place that's right on the backside, pardon the pun, of the Browns is right there. It's, what is it, on a nature reserve? It's right out the window. So he could throw his wire right out the window and have his place there. He wants one of these suites. And I'm like, well,
you got to
what's it
talk to his
cost?
agent, Mark. Mark's his agent, so he's kind of lining it all up for Scotty. So whatever Mark can negotiate, I guess Scotty will get.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that.
Yeah.
His name's not Scotty. The character is Scotty. His real name is Jimmy Hi Hi, and he's from Ellicott City. So I had to pull back the veil just a little bit. We're all just playing our part. Okay, so what have you been up to? You had beautiful weather. I know we've been talking on Discord a little bit. Everybody's out there trying to beat back the grass and the weeds and that sort of thing. What have you been up to out there in paradise where you live?
Oh, it's starting to, we're talking about the tune-up coming up here real soon. So we're racking and stacking. So I've been kind of figuring out I want to do a portable setup, and kind of threw out a couple of pictures on Discord. So if you haven't joined us on the Discord group, just look for 100 watts and a wire on the Discord group and come and join. And there's a great group of folks and just a lot of interaction going on. So I threw a couple pictures out on a layout with a couple different radios, and just kind of figuring out what I'm going to do. So when I set up out in the field here at the homestead, then we'll go from there. Or if I get a wild hair up the behind, we'll hit one of the parks. Woo, baby! And we'll go hit one of the parks, and maybe even do a POTA at the same time. You never know.
From the newsroom, Earl Bailey's checking in.
100 watts and a wire. News.
We have a report coming in from Sheena, Kilo Zero Lima, Tango Lima. She is the 0.01% of our audience. She says Scotty is looking for a gummy bus. Scotty, a.k.a. Jimmy Hi Hi, for his character here on 100 watts and wire, is looking for a gummy bus. What do you think about that, Steve? It's a bit much.
Wow, that is a little much. So I don't know. We'll see if the finances can swing it.
We did acquire the WJZ, which is a television station in Baltimore. They had an old van. We did procure that. I guess that's a good way of saying we stole that for, I don't know. It's off the lot, buffed it out.
Tactically relocated it.
I think that's what we say.
Yeah.
And so, yes, you did bring up the point of racking. And every time we get into a portable operation, every year our operating event comes around in the spring. I get that hair you're talking about. Mine gets stuck between the bicuspid and the molars, but yours is somewhere else. Not related. Not a related. Different hair, different strands of DNA we're talking about. Got off track there. Anyway.
Jesus Christ.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Oh, they got a note coming in? Okay. In Daddy's bathroom, up high. I'll get that for you. That just came out of the newsroom, too. A new intern. She'll be running things here before too long. Mm-hmm. Anyway, where was I? We were talking, the hair between my bicuspid and second molar. Is to rack the radio for portable operations or not rack it, put it in a box. The problem is, Steve, I think in this beautiful country of ours, we have too many options sometimes. We have options with the food. We have so many things that we could do, and I've got a box, and I've got the squishy foam that goes with it, and I've plucked it out just so, and it fits in there just beautiful. And then I've got this rack. And if you're watching us now or later in the replay, you could see it right under my on-air sign. It is basically that rack. It's a 4U Gator case. It's perfect for this. You got a little light on the top if you want it. A couple years ago, 3 years, maybe more, I got a piece of like a rack mount that actually fits in there. It holds the radio in so I could stop Velcroing and that kind of thing. It's totally fine if you Velcro. I've done that, did it, whatever. And last year around this time, I was dealing with the hernia. You guys probably remember this. I know the fellas do. I was doing shows lean back in this chair, and it wasn't pretty. And I would get emails saying, man, I don't know, it doesn't look good, dude. It looks painful. I'm like, it is. And then I got the C19 and the cough and all that mess. I was hemmed up pretty good this time last year. So what I did was I took everything out of that rack because it felt a little wide, it felt a little wide for me at the time. It's just a man I was hurting, and it wasn't super heavy. It's just anything of a certain weight was causing me pain, and I'm like, I could have
And
just
I
put a
recall
handle.
we were encouraging that to reduce your weight limit, you know, the weight that you had to deal with, and it was at the time it was better to be unracked and all separated
Yeah.
for you.
And I did it, and I did it. And I thought maybe I'm going to fly. And if I do fly somewhere, because that was a thing. If you guys dig back into this archive, we do talk about life in amateur radio. And so here I am dealing with this situation. I needed surgery. My surgery got postponed because of the virus going around. The surgeon had it. I had to get postponed for weeks. That was terrible. But anyway, it's, life and situations were, okay, I'm going to be flying right after my surgery. Like, what should I take? And it's break it down real small and don't lift. And all these things are coming back to me now. But so here we come in springtime and I'm thinking, I don't know, should we do the dance again? I'm looking at the rack and she gives me the wink. Bling. Smiling. And yeah. And here I am. I went back to rack it up. And what I did, Steve, is I had one of these lights, and you might be able to see them behind me. I'll switch this camera real quick. So back here in my rig, this is not a green screen. There's a light. There's a light back here on top, and it shines down over my radio, and that little thing is kind of heavy. That mounts in, and itself, it's a heavy piece. It's like an air conditioned type of thing. It does not air condition, but it circulates the energy. You can plug multiple things into it. And for a while, I'm like, that's gold. I'm going to need that. And I'm going to need a 100-foot extension cord. And you're piling on the things that you need. I got a little LED light, racked it in this thing, and it weighs nothing. I'm like, that's fine. That'll work. I've got other light sources, lanterns and whatnot. But I'm encouraged to see what you're up to, because it looked to me like your Go Kit and your portable ops, and thinking of tune-up coming up June 9th, 10th, and 11th, guys, by the way. If you could put that on your schedule, we can talk about the exchange. It's a simple exchange. We don't do anything crazy. You essentially call CQ tune-up and, give a true signal report, maybe where you are, exchange your 100-watt ID, that sort of thing. But it's really just an excuse to get on the air, get on the air, set it aside. Any band, any mode. That's another thing I need to talk to you about. Mr. Effin' FT8. Oh, big news. This just in.
No.
What do you have, Earl?
100 watts and a wire. News.
Sidecar Steve, W7UDI. I have it on good authority that this guy has taken a digital mistress. He has a digital mistress. Once only an HF guy, now has a digital mistress. Details coming up a little bit later. But your rack, you took a picture of it, and you're thinking about UHF, VHF, and HF in there. What are your thoughts with it? Because it seems like you're still kind of sorting out how you'd like to run it.
So I got two radios that I'm going back and forth with. So there's an old FT847, the kind of one of the original Shack in a Box. It's a 160 through 440 HF, VHF, UHF radio. On VHF, UHF, it does all modes. So AM, FM, sideband, CW. It's everything's in the box. All one radio. It's has 4 connectors on the back. So whatever antennas you need, away you go. It does not have a built-in tuner. This radio is probably 23 years old right now. It's really popular with the satellite guys. It does the satellite modes. So if you're going up one band, it comes down the other. It's a great radio unto itself. The problem is utilizing the FC20 outboard tuner, which mates to that. It utilizes the serial bus that for cat control for the tuner to communicate with the radio. Hence, I can't use it for FT8 if I have the tuner on there, because the cat control on the radio is basically deactivated. So now I'm kind of getting into this FT8 mode. Yes, I know, shocker. But it's becoming, I see down the road, more DXpeditions are going to be utilizing FT8 for their operations. Bouvet was one prime example. I think it's going to become the norm, that the mode is becoming more and more widely accepted. So it's time to get my feet in, dip my toes into the pond. So here we go. And so there was that radio. Then I have the 450, the FT450 Delta, which has a built-in tuner. I already have it set up for FT8. It's great. It's only an HF radio. So I just throw in a dual band Kenwood V71, call it good. And so now the question is, which way do I want to go? And I'm probably going to end up going with the 450. It just to have that option, even though I might not use it during the tune-up, but I want to just kind of rack it up and utilize the tune-up as a way to, okay, let's try it, see how it goes, and go from there. I even went as far as even thinking about racking up the FT1000 into it, and it would fit. It would fit in the box, but then I'm like, going, damn, that's heavy.
That one has its own power supply, doesn't it?
And it has a built-in power supply, a built-in tuner, the whole 9 yards, and it's dual receiver. That, I don't know. What do you think? Should I rack up the 1000 or not? That would be kind of interesting.
Put your answer there. What do you think? You might have to look that radio up, though. It's a beautiful radio, and he used it last year during the tune-up. It's a big guy, and he was like, I love it because it has its own power supply. And I was like, you got what? And how many watts out? Is it more than 100?
It's 100 watt. It's
100
just
watt.
your standard. It's the MP, so it's the 100 watt version. So, but it was just easy. It was throughout components. So basically, when we got smeared by Uncle Paul's salty balls,
Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Thanks, Paul.
It was just take the radio out and extension cord, and we're good to go. Because I didn't have a.
You set up on a table. We were at the convenience of being pretty close to our house, which was one of the tune-up things. And with tune-up, you can be in your own shack. There's really no rules. And you were kind of out by your shop, and I was out at the old wooden shed. So in an situation, you could kind of scurry on back. But that was a beautiful radio sitting there. It had a nice beer next to it, and you were just rolling. That was good. So should he try to rack up such a big thing? I wonder, does it have panels to rack something like that? Or would you have to back out the feet and maybe do a Velcro-y job?
I could probably do a Velcro-y job. I got to look at it. I might be able to make some brackets for it, or I could fabricate up some brackets that will, clamp the radio down. But I kind of gave it a 10 seconds worth of thought, and then I just cast it aside until now. So hey, why not?
That's an interesting thought. We will explore that because it's a big radio. It's a big radio, and it looks beautiful, and it's a big one, but it's got some real good benefits to it. So let's think about that as we move forward. This week in radio history, guys, you might remember some of these dates. We're old enough to remember. May 2nd, 1934, WLW begins operating with a 500 kilowatt transmitter. Well, May 4th, 1920, we were much younger back then, but radio had so much promise. There was just a buzz happening about this new thing. RCA holds its first meeting. You know what they were talking about there? Who brought the donuts? Oh, yeah.
And that 500 kW Crosby transmitter there outside of Cincinnati. That WLW.
May 6, 1937, WLS reporter Herb Morrison describes the fiery disaster of Zeppelin Hindenburg. You might remember this one. We heard it on the radio in real time, and this brother sadly was fired. Oh, the humanity. You remember this? Oh, the humanity.
Oh, yeah.
It's at Lakehurst, New Jersey, and he showed emotion, and it got him fired. He was upset that a friggin' Zeppelin exploded and people died. Heaven forbid that he show any emotion in 1937, and he was canned, unfortunately. There you go. There are some events. We don't have Jimmy Hi Hi, a.k.a. Scotty, the character of Scotty. We will be auditioning. I thought about Big Ben. Big Ben could probably do it. Listening to events. This is how you negotiate. We have another guy. You know, we can pull Big Ben in. You know, so Jimmy, you know, go over there and figure out what you want to do. But we could bring in, I like the accent. He's got that slow, strong delivery. Think about it, Ben. We'll get you an audition. But there's some events going on, Steve. May 6th and 7th. 7th Call Area QSO Party is going to happen. Indiana QSO Party, a busy weekend. Listen to all this. Delaware QSO Party. Delaware is a hard one to get to. You newer hams that are looking around going, who the hell's the operator I got to get Delaware? That's a good one. So that's a good time to pick it up. New England QSO Party is also happening. The 1010 International DX Spring Contest CW. If you are learning the code and you want to jump into that, it'll be busy. It'll look like a symphony of CW. Also, special event station May 6th, May 5th and 6th. Jiggy with the Piggy. This one came in from Pastor Joe. He said, I gotta see this. It's a barbecue cook-off. Kilo 4 Charlie in Concord, North Carolina. That's Jiggy
Nice.
with the Piggy in from
Jiggy with the
Pastor.
Piggy. Yeah, baby.
We want to thank our sponsor, PowerFilm Solar and Gigaparts. This is how you can help us guys. Go over to go over to gigaparts.com, and in the search bar, type in 100 watts, 100 watts. Open up a new browser now. It'll help us. It's free. They're looking for engagement to make sure their money works. Who knows if it's working or not, but they would like to know, and that's how they'll gauge. And PowerFilm Solar and Gigaparts, they're providing quality solar power solutions for your portable operating needs. We can talk about solar power, which is cool to add to your portable setup. To explore PowerFilm's selection of quality products, visit gigaparts.com, search 100 watts. That is a free and easy way to help your friends here keep our community going, keep the content you enjoy. And if you feel moved, if you feel it move, if you find value in 100 watts in a wire, I felt it move. You can support us by visiting buymeacoffee.com/100 watts. Find a level that works for you. We've got $1 a show, $4 a month level. And I need to talk to Steve because I want to do something cool for our members. I want to create a cohort, if you will. So if you're a member, you become a member. Each month, Steve and I will jump on. I gotta pay him extra for this now. This is not, you're gonna see his eyes squint. You might even hear him. It's dry out there. Squint like, what? You want me to do more? You son of a... How about... This is how the conversation will go after this. You son of a bitch. Bamboozle me on live stream. And he'll throw his scarf over his shoulder and storm off. But the idea, I meant to talk to... Yeah, just like that. He just did it. I will not be told live. I'm going to be doing something, you bastard. Maybe I'll save it.
Bastards. How dare you?
How dare you? How dare you? That's another one. We've got a
I gotta get
dipole
my
level.
Greta going here.
Get your Greta going. Get your feels happening. $1 a show. It's cheaper than an actual cup of coffee. It helps us build the content, pay for the platforms and the subscriptions that we have to do to keep the wheels rolling. Buymeacoffee.com/100 watts today. And thank you. Thank you. All right, we can cut the music. Yeah, what I'm thinking about doing, though, might be interesting, Steve, and you don't have to be on the hook yet. And Lionel's got it right. Kilo Juliet 7, Oscar Foxtrot Hotel. He's phoned in and called you Diva Steve. So Sidecar Steve, Diva Steve. You feel my pain, Lionel. Thank you. How dare you? Throwing his scarf over. It'll be cold again. Stop telling me to stop wearing my scarves. I'm thinking
Only
about
a few months.
our members, Sidecar, Diva Steve. Diva Steve, see, you can't
Diva
give
Steve.
yourself a nickname, right? Steve's never been picking his own thing. I called him Sidecar Steve. It stuck. Diva Steve could work. Let me give him a fair crack at this one, though, at the idea, because I texted him the other day, but there were some circumstances. He was busy. He was doing something, and I was with a coworker, and all this was going on, and we're texting. But I'm thinking about creating a cohort sort of situation for our members. And what it would mean is we could maybe get together as a group for, however long a time on an evening on a certain designated day for our members and talk about our projects, answer questions. And, Steve, what are you doing? What are you working on? What are your struggles? And as members, come together and do that maybe once a month or something like that as a membership kind of benefit for you. So that's not a hard sell for Steve to me. I've been thinking about doing something like that. We just have to kind of just organize it among, and then, whoever shows up can show up on that time. And it's a good way to kind of get into each other's projects a little bit more, share some ideas, get a little bit deeper. If you're interested in that, give us a thumbs up and let us know if that sounds like a good idea. The 100 Watts and a Wire, perhaps, cohort with their members. Visit buymeacoffee.com/100watts. Become a member. Any of those things offers there on that website, and you can join us. What do you think about that, Steve? Is that a little far-fetched, or is that something maybe we'd...
Oh, that's totally doable. Let's do it.
All right.
So we'll just get it set up.
Threw
And
that scarf again. Did you see it? He threw the scarf.
super.
He's like, let's do it. My rate for 1 hour is... Jeez. I should have never agreed. Okay, Sheena will be in, hopefully. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And hello to our friends who are joining us live. We try to do this Sunday nights, 6 o'clock Central. It's a live recording of the podcast. Another benefit for our show is subscribing to the audio podcast, because that's been around since 2015. I know many of our members and family members in the Hamily enjoy watching us do this live and being here. Many more people enjoy listening on the go to it. So subscribe, take it with you. Those numbers help as well. So we appreciate you. Okay, Steve. So we've talked about racking a little bit. Portable operating. So we got the radios. We've got maybe the tuners, the built-in tuners. We're talking about racks. Don't rack. Put it in a gator case. Whatever you're going to do. I want to talk a little bit about, at least spend a few minutes on antennas. We got to talk a little bit about antennas, and we put the word out here. On our social media, we did get some answers. Let me see if I can pull them up here on for the screen, people watching here, and I will read them, and Steve-O will hang out, and I will hang out on the side. Just what works for you out in the field, because this is a chance. I thought when we created the tune-up and in the fallout in October, it was all about let's have an event that we can just do as our community. It's casual. You don't have to feel like, damn it, I missed it. And it happens before field day. And, maybe you're building an antenna, you're trying something different. Maybe you've got a new radio. Maybe you want to hang out with your buddy. A lot of times I find with clubs, and I'll go back to this for a second. With our clubs, we get assigned. There's a leadership structure, and they're like, all right, Christian and Steve, you're going to do 20 meters from 10 a.m. to, say, 2 o'clock, and we're going to treat it like a contest. Christian, you're going to run 40 at that time, and Steve, you'll help me with the gun, and we'll hang you, and Christian, you're going to go over there and run the car. And so you're kind of assigned things, and you may not have the opportunity to test your antenna, is my point. So with tune-up, bring all that stuff with you, June 9th, 10th, and 11th. Go out in the field, do what you want to do, solar, batteries. There's some benefits, right? Any band, any mode, any time. Any thoughts on that, Steve? And then we can look at
yeah,
some
exactly.
antennas.
And that's what happens. We kind of would go out to field day with our group, whether it's a club or your buddies or even by yourself, and you set up a field day. Okay, I built this antenna. but you'd never, it's like, oh, okay, it's going to work, and you get out there and it's not performing the way you want it to perform. So the tune-up was an idea. It was like, hey, here's a good time to test out your equipment, test out your setup, whether you're stacked or you're just individual parts or whatever, how you're going to run on your event. The tune-up was the concept was just to get out there and test everything and give it a trial run, and at the same time, make contacts with your friends, and for us, it was just a way of highlighting the upcoming field day and portable operations. So that's the whole game for tune-up, and it's a great time. So antennas are very important. So I feel the tune-up is a great time to test it out, because you've set aside some time in our busy schedule to go do this operating event before the actual field day, because it turns out to be a bummer at times when you go out and it's like, oh, it didn't work out. Now what? Now you're getting, well, Steve, did you test the antenna? No.
Right. And couldn't really. I was working late.
Couldn't. I was too busy. So that was so this is a great time to, check it out. Your equipment. Now, whether you're going to operate in field day or not, that's a whole nother story, but we're in spring. Right. It's a great time. And, field days kind of is into summer. Things are getting a little hot. The mosquitoes are getting a little wacky. So, hey, this is a great time to start hitting the, the portable operations and out in the field right at the end of spring before summer kicks in.
And so everybody's invited, any band, any mode, anytime, June 9th, 10th, and 11th. And there'll be some stations like us. We'll be calling CQ Fallout, just getting out there and having a good time. It's a good chance to tune up. What did I say? Don't listen to me. Fallout, right. I'm already
You were testing me.
I was testing. He does listen with it didn't block his ears.
You're so wonderful. You listen.
No, you listen. Pay him. The CFO is like, no, man, you can't just do that when
you freaking morons.
Let's talk. Yeah, right.
That's what they think.
Thank goodness for the listeners. We're listener supported. That's what keeps the wheels going. The suits upstairs. Oh no. I don't know why they listen. I don't know. So let's take a look at what people are using and what works for them portable. This could be parks on the air. It could be summits, whatever. Just get out and get in a park. You don't have to be affiliated with any sort of program to get out and operate. I love it. Patrick, he says he uses a TD 2.0. He says, I can hang it from a tree or a pole with a tripod. I'm not familiar with that, a TD. Does anybody know what that is? I know what an STD is.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry. It's only from reading them. I don't have that to offer.
I'm going to take a stab at it as a trap dipole.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense. Brian, he said he likes a slide winder coil with a military whip. Any experience with that? Does that sound familiar, Steve? Slide winder.
I think, was it a Sidewinder screwdriver type coil or a Wolf River coil? But Sidewinder, I'm not 100% familiar with that one, but I'm thinking Wolf River coil and a big whip, and away you go.
I like it. Stan says he uses a Slink Tenna, 80 meters through 6, compact, quick deploy, helical dipole. Helical?
It's a slinky. It's basically you just stretch out the slinky.
Oh, I see.
That's what it is.
Oh, now I get it. He did add a picture. It stretches 12 feet. He uses a 9-to-1 Unin in the center, collapses to just 6 inches. That's Stan. WB5 UDI. WB5 UDI. Scott says, when I have time and space available, I love my off-center fed dipole. 40, 20, 10, 6 meters. I most use the portable antenna, though the MFJ 2289 Big Ears dipole. He's deployed it, hooked it up to his radio in 5 minutes. I think that's the one that looks like the old television antennas. You kind of go out like that. I'm pointing out like I've got rabbit ears from an old television set, but it's taller and those are much longer. I think. I could be wrong.
I'll have to look it up. I mean, that's kind of cool.
Mike says he uses a Chameleon. They make really good products. I think they're out of Las Vegas. LEFS 40 through 10 meters, resonant on 40, 20, and 15 and 10 meters. Works great with his 7300 and the 705. The best part is that it's lightweight and easy to set up for vertical. The Chameleon Tactical Delta Loop works great on 6, 12, 15, and 17 meters. The downside is it needs radials. He's Whiskey 4 IBS. John, he uses a G5 RV or an NFED on a telescopic pole. He's AC2 JK. Richard, single band NFED half wave, generally 20 or 40. DJ NFEDs, man, they seem to be like, they just made a comeback. They became this trendy antenna. When I got in 2012 or around 2014, 2015, looking at antenna options, people really poo-pooed on the NFEDs. And boy, what a difference a few years makes. Now they're sort of, it's common.
I think it was the advent of getting balance that are working well, the 49-to-1, the 9-to-1 balance, and becoming more available, and now people are getting into the NFED because it's an antenna that works in a lot of situations.
Ari says he's got random length wire, usually about 41 feet, and somewhat vertical with a 9-to-1 transformer. He's using a tuner, and it can work all the bands from 40 through 10. K1A US. Thank you, Ari. John, he uses a Wolf River coil. That's also what I believe Pastor Joe uses, a Wolf River coil. I'll have to check that. SB1000 TIA, Wolf River coil. Jeff, he brings a 4x4 Chevy pickup truck to the farm along with wire, rope, solder, torch, tape measure, beer, coax, 450 ohm twin line, a tent, sleeping bag, food, beer, tuner. I think he said beer a couple times. He makes an inverted V.
Right.
He just wants to double check. He's got redundancy there. I like that. And an inverted V doublet or elevated ground plane hung from a branch of the tallest tree, approximately 80 feet for his 80-meter band. Might make a dozen contacts in the weekend. My wife married a ham who has been licensed since 1975. FD is my field days, his opportunity to bing, drink. He had a little bit. By the time he wrote all these words, he brings a drink for the weekend, puts a comm station together in the woods, and escapes from the world. KR4IS, my kind of fellow. What you think about that all, Steve?
Oh, yeah, I'm right there. He started off with a Chevy 4x4 and beer. We're golden. I mean,
friends for life.
Hell yeah.
Friends for life. We did get some stuff on the Discord side of town. We do have a Discord server, but since Jimmy Hi here is not here, a.k.a. the role of Scotty, I'm making my air quotes here, check the description of your podcast, check the description of the live stream, and join us over on Discord because it's a little more casual over there. We've got a lot of different channels. Photography is a good one. Steve out there in a beautiful landscape. I put up a couple pictures just walking through St. Louis the other day.
Those were cool. The street light was really
thanks,
cool.
Man. They have that history here of these street lights, and they're around, and they're like the full run of the block. You know, it could be a mile strip, and they're all lit like that. Gaslight Square and all those sorts of things. Old gas lights. Check it out. A lot of good stuff there. A lot of good artistic eyes around our community. It's cool to see. Pastor Joe, he says Wolf River coil and the Silver Bullet 1000 coil with a 17-foot whip vertical. Don also uses that, and he uses a mag mount as well. Brad says non-resident NFED works well for him. He has a backup, the WRC-TIA. I'm not familiar with that acronym. Rex, he has too many, but he likes the Chameleon MCOM and his NFED half wave. If you had to hold him to it, and
he'd load up his grain silo and call it good.
For sure, man. For sure. He's a wackadoodle. Let's see. He has a little inside joke. He's Farmer Rex. Farmer Rex has some silos on the farm, and he's loaded up the silo and made contacts. That's interesting. That's interesting there. Let me give you an alert on some contests that are actually the Hamfest that are going on. Talk about that real quick, and then we're going to get to your questions. We had a couple of questions here tonight. We've had some left over that I've brought. May 6th, Winston VFW Ham Swap Meet in Winston, Oregon. That sounds like a good one. We should be in Oregon, Steve. Come on now. May 6th. Can anybody just give us the invite? Say, come on, and we'll pay for transportation and hotel lodging and food and beer for Steve. He's a diva. We gotta run with a crew. May 6th. The Chochis. Is that right? Chochis Ham Fest in Sierra Vista, Arizona. Chochis. That sounds all right. Woo! May 7th, Warminster ARC Ham Fest in Bristol, Pennsylvania. You can see all the events on our events channel on our Discord server. The link is down below. If you have anything going on you want us to mention on the show, send it to us. Email, put it on the Discord server in the events tab. We'll pull it, and we will mention that for you. And if you're looking for a power solution, check out Bioenno Power, offering the best lithium phosphate batteries for your ham radios. I use those exclusively for power when I'm portable. Visit bioennopower.com. That's BIOENNO power.com. Don't forget to go to our website, 100wattsandawire.com. Get yourself your 100-watt ID. Everything's free. You could check out the gear section in the shop. We've got all sorts of T-shirts. Thinking about putting together a mustachio line. If you're familiar with our live stream during the Sunday Evening Net, Uncle Paul, we call him Mustachio. He now has the role of Mustachio. Congratulations, Paul, for becoming Mustachio. Who will become the new Scotty? That's what we need to know. Okay, we'll figure all that out. We've got some questions. We had a couple here. Let me see if I can pull those up real quick. Yes, James, he's got 2 questions. He thinks he can just ask away. Let's see what's going on. What is considered QRP, sirs? Fine sirs, handsome men. Is it 5 watts, 10 watts, 25 watts? I've seen some people say 50 watts. I've also considered 10 watts or less. What is the consensus on QRP? Diva.
I would think 25 and below. Truly 20, 10, 5 is truly QRP. But I think 25 is a good number. You have radios that are like the Zygoos and some of the other big name radio QRP rigs that are 10 or 20 watts. So I kind of think 25 would be a good cutoff point, but I don't know. It's, some say 5 watts for CW and maybe 10 watts for sideband, but I think if you're below 25 watts, then you're good. 50 is kind of, it's a little more than that. I mean, if you talk to the big guns, they would say 100 watts is QRP. For them, it's 1500 or go home. So I personally think 25 and under is QRP in my book.
Okay. And we can take your...
spoken.
The diva has spoken, and so it was.
So
Contractually, it's a contractual thing. James has a follow-up. What is the minimum height for a 10-meter dipole antenna configuration? I want to go golf cart mobile, 10 meters, 25 watts for the tune-up, and have a 12-foot pole. Do you think this will be high enough?
Oh, God, yeah. No, I mean, it's typically if you want a half decent takeoff angle, when we're talking about horizontal antennas, it's a half wavelength. So a 12-foot pole will kind of get you there. You'll be fine. You'll be good.
Try it. Put it out. See what it does. Lionel says 10 watts. Now, Also, Big Ben, aka the new Scotty, he says the league considers QRP less than 100 watts for most of its contests.
Yeah, I mean the contest entities, the league, I think CQ or whoever's holding a major contest, they considered 100 watts and less as low power. So and then high power is anything above whatever they deem level they want to set for high power. But anything below 100 is low power.
Lou says QRP is 5 watts, CW 10 watts single sideband is correct.
There we go.
All right. So you're welcome, James. Thank you for the question. We have some others here that have come in, and if anyone here would like to ask a question, you can do so. And I must say, as we end at the backstretch of our program with these questions, sometimes they may need a little bit more. Some of them may require full shows. And this question came in, and so you'll see what I mean. On-air bullying. What's the best way to defend being a 100-watt station? Now, this came in an email form. I'll just give you a backstory. Guy got his balls busted being 100 watts, whether it was 80 meters or whatever, you know how people can be, was taking heat for just being a 100-watt station, and wanted to know what we thought, because he was basically run out of there. He, you know how these guys are, and we don't even have to go there with it, but in helping enable someone feel a little bit more confident, what do you suggest, Steve?
I would say, you know what? F them. It just don't even. Yeah, it's one of those that and I don't know the context of where you were, where you're operating, and what was going on. I mean, it could have been, and I know there's groups of guys out there. They're running just QRO, buku power, and they're only like 20, 30 miles apart from each other or whatever on 80 meters, and they are deficient in one area in their life, and they're trying to compensate or whatever. I would say, I mean, we have a big knob on our radio, and it's just spin it. Go somewhere else. There'll be plenty of people that you can run into that the 100 watts is more than that, is more than fine. This group, unless it's your buddies or whatever, and they're just kind of busting your stones because they just, that's the way they are, and they're just giving you a bad time, then that's one thing. But if it's people you really don't know, then you know what, screw them. There's plenty people out there on the bands that are not power envious. So I just say F them all and move on.
Yeah, I have to echo what Steve's saying here. You really need to find your people. And I've heard people and we could be your people. We have a mixed bag. Steve and I both run power, but it's not like we're strangers to 100-watt operation. That's what the tune-up's all about anyway, is kind of getting out there. But you could do it from your home. But the point being, we generally all start 100 watts in a wire. Put a wire up in a tree, and that's what you have. These folks are kind of forgetting where they came from a little bit. And I've heard guys talk to their buddies and say, turn your amp on. I won't hear you. I won't talk to you. It's kind of like, so it's almost like you're not there. Those aren't your people.
If your signal is not 20 over, then you don't rate with us. I mean, these are a bunch of D-bags, and that's fine. If there are guys that are, amongst themselves, and a little group of 4 or 5 guys, and they're just bagging on each other and just busting each other's stones, that's fine. But when it's someone on the outside, or we don't need to deal with the power envy. If you got the power, great. If you don't worry about it, and don't chastise someone, because you know what, D-bag, you started off with 100 watts and basically a wire antenna or whatever. You didn't come into the hobby with all this gear and amplifiers and all this other stuff. Maybe 1 or 2 of you out of the whole group might have come in that way, but most of you, you kind of started off like the rest of us. So, take your high horse and go march somewhere else.
There you go. Our brother Ricardo says not everyone can afford a high-powered equipment. Everyone to their own. This is a hobby, fun thing to do.
And the cost these days is stupid. It's just unbelievable.
All right. Thank you for that question. I'm sorry that you felt that way and you ran into those folks that weren't really, I don't know. They're like that with a lot of different elements too. I mean, they don't like contesters. They don't like POTA. They don't like 100-watt stations. They like themselves. Yeah. So Steve said enough. He said it all.
Come and join us Sunday nights, right after the show here.
Sunday night, bring it.
Bring it. And you're more than welcome. Whatever power. 5 to 1,500. Doesn't matter. Everybody's welcome.
Doors open. Key will be under the mat if it's cold. Next question. What do you know about the buddy poll? Is it hype?
I personally haven't played with the buddy poll, but I know a lot of people have used it and they work great. They're made up here in the Northwest. I think they're an Oregon company, and they have been around for many years, and a lot of people have used them. It's and been successful with it. Is it a equivalent to a full-size dipole antenna? No, but if the whole idea was it was lightweight, something that you can throw into a backpack and hike up to a mountaintop or some place that you walk into, and you can get on the air with it. So if you're expecting big antenna results out of a little antenna, I think you'll be a little bit disappointed. But if you expect to just go out and enjoy the hobby and make contacts, the buddy pole will definitely work for you.
And that's the antenna. Chris, who I believe runs Buddy Pole now, his father Bud created this antenna, and he would go with his friends to different destinations, like an island. Maybe they go to Costa Rica or wherever they would go. And Bud's known, I hope he's still on the radio. I believe he's in his 80s. He's the one that does the bicycle portable. And you'll hear him, he's in his 80s, but he designed this antenna to be lightweight, to take it to the beach where they could do some contesting and hang out. And his son, Chris, I believe, it's been a while since I've touched base with Chris, but that's the backstory of the company. Sound like good dudes to me, and Bud sounds like a nice man. So there you go. A couple things in here from the chat we want to mention. Sheena says, great point, Diva Steve. Ed says, Buddy Stick is the bomb. Lou says, I love my Buddy Pole and Buddy Stick antennas. So there you go. That's what we know about the Buddy Pole. Thank you for that question. Here's another one here. How do you store QSL cards?
Oh, wow. Mine are in a shoebox. Basically, that's about it. I mean, they make hangers and stuff, and you can pin them on your walls. But and as you can see, my walls are not so much when it comes to as far as QSL cards. It's just stuff of my daughter's wedding, Hawaiian wedding, her and I. My kids up here and stuff, a little bit more personal. I'm not into the hanging of QSL cards and things like that, but there's a number of ways you can store your cards, and shoebox is one of them, or photo albums is another. It's just what works for you.
I don't get as many as I used to. I used to get a lot more, and I think a lot of folks were doing the digital way and email and all that stuff and put it on the QRZ and all these sorts of things. I love them personally. I don't get as many as I used to. In fact, I'm thinking of getting rid of my P.O. box because I only had that P.O. box to receive those mail messages, really.
Right.
And it's an expense, and I'm like, geez, I don't receive that many. So I kind of miss it, but I definitely love QSL cards. I just was a kid that always enjoyed getting mail.
Yeah. And the cost of mailing them has gotten pretty high, so it's not like it used to be. But there's some cool QSL cards that people have out there.
Pastor Joe says, I keep my QSL cards in plastic pages in a big binder.
There you go. So there's an option.
Ricardo, also a QSL album, adds sheets to it every few years. Very nice. And Brad appreciates the fancy camera work this evening. Thanks for being here, Brad. We appreciate you. Okay, let's hit another one before we have to wrap up our time on our edition of this podcast. Next question. Where do you see ham radio's MCOM role in the future? Boy, that's a show topic right there, I think.
I personally, I kind of see we still have a role in it, but it's not going to be the ARES role. The way I see it with the larger metropolitan areas, I don't see much involvement with that unless there's a kind of a change of pace as far as the emergency management in these larger metropolitan areas. They kind of have unfortunately, a bad taste in their mouth of ARES. And when they're trying to deal with local people, then they have to deal with a national entity like the league or whatever. It, I think, kind of sours them. What I see happening, and this is happening in the smaller counties, the rural counties, is the role of auxiliary communicators, that these entities are going to have better control or more control of the local people, and then will serve the needs of the 911 center or whatever, the emergency management, and which will mean you're not just going to be talking on ham radio. You're going to be talking on public safety frequencies and being trained on doing that, and maybe even deploying equipment. So it's happening in the smaller counties, but I think from the larger municipalities and larger counties and the most populous areas, I think our role might be diminished. But there's a possibility as time goes on that it could be brought back up. I see possibly a resurgence of RACES, and that's where it has local control. And that was very, very big in the 60s and 70s, early 70s, RACES. So I could see that re-emerging. Unfortunately, the people that are into ARES, sorry, but I kind of see that diminishing, but I could be wrong. But that's the way I see it right now.
All right, very good. Yep, we've had conversations about that, and actually whole shows talking about it. I kind of hoped for more during my 13 months in Aries. You know, it was it's something we could probably get into maybe next week, talking about it a little bit, because in my mind, I always apply portable operations to some MCOM scenario for me. It's not, I just kind of build like, all right, what's kind of going on here? What do I need to do? And I think like that. I'm thinking kind of in a preparedness mode. And my experience locally, and these are good fellas, I'm not putting down anybody, during the COVID, the Roni, I wanted to study HF propagation for hospital beds in nearby states. So it had to go up. It was like it had to have a big meeting, and to kind of get the clearance. And one of the fellas didn't have HF capabilities, and he was high ranking. The other guy was a technician, and he was HT based. And I was like, guys, I just want to study HF and see if I can get into Kansas and Arkansas and see if we can kind of coordinate that was my thing. Steve's been with me the whole time. He knows what I was kind of going for. And it just really didn't, and I knew it was the back up for the backbone. Like what I was proposing was not frontline stuff, which is kind of more digital, more, that kind of deal. And I said, what if? Can we check it out? I'll be the guy who does that. I'll check out that. And it really didn't happen. And I was like, okay, I understand. And after about 13 months, I was like, I don't know. I don't think, I'm not even sure most of these fellas could program their radios, And I just had interest, and it wasn't a put down to any of these guys. They were super nice, but they had their backbone in place, and that was enough for them to keep going. And I was proposing something different, So some people liked it, some didn't. I don't know. But I agree totally with the role when it actually does happen, when something happens. What are we going to do? Just don't self-deploy. All right. Thank you for that question. I think we fooled them again, Steve. We did it.
We did.
We found out that they are running Mustachio. Mustachio is got the evening off, but we will have a no net coverage. I'll be taking care of some family business here. My wife is getting back in town, so we're going to help out, do some things here, and catch up this evening. So, but tune your radios to 40 meters. It looks like we've got 7215 if you're here with us. If you're not here with us, why are you not here with us? You're listening to us going down the road. 6 o'clock Central, the live recording of the podcast. 7 o'clock, we get on the air. So I'm going to turn it on. Let's see if we can even see it. I will see if anybody's there. So there you go. I don't know. That almost sounds like Pastor Joe. So yeah, you guys head on over. Get on the HF if you've got it. 40 meters tonight, 7213. Let the people know in our community, and I'll be listening to you. Steve, thank you so much for hanging out. We didn't have Jimmy Hi tonight, but
Yeah, we missed Jimmy Hi.
it was
but
like the
he'll be
old
back
days.
next week. Yep.
Yeah, he'll be back if I show him the money. He's sending me
Show him
Jerry
the love.
Maguire memes. Show me the money. Where the money?
Money, give me the money.
Thanks for joining us, you guys. We appreciate you.
Thank you, everyone.
Always. Check us out on our social media. All the links are down below. If you're listening to this or you're watching it, the links are in the description. Join us. And we'll catch you next week. We'll talk more, some portable options again as we prepare for the tune-up June 9th, 10th, and 11th. 73, Steve, have a great night.
7-3, Christian, and thank you, everyone, for watching.
Take care now.
7-3 all.
See you on the air.
To join the 100 Watts in a Wire community, visit 100wattsinawire.com.